was in Spain last summer, and I wrote a whole new series of hot poems, and I kept them top secret for months until I realized that no one was actually trying to find out about them. And now I'm reading them everywhere I can. And they're all about a character named Ghost, and there's a certain amount of decomposition and grotesquerie. I'm not sure this poem will make a lot of sense out of context, but it's the only sexy one. Minus the rot and decay, and so forth. And but I'm really into this guy now, and this is called Ghost Awakes with a Hangover, assigns away his last earthly possessions. To die, be born, and die again. What would you celebrate? What would laughter commend? That you're alive? Well, not quite. How brief vows of forever sacrificed to tawdry morning. But you taught the body again to bow and obey, poured your poison like honeyed tea. Thy will and testament, Ghost. Speak. Take this cup from me. It is yours. Take these sandals and the tired dust, this rope of leather for a belt. Take this coat that warned me, these bent fingers that reached for you and the eye that saw your beauty, this mouth and every word said and unsaid to the night. Well, Sunday is Valentine's Day, and so we're going to slip in a little Neruda poem now. This is from 100 Love Sonnets, which I recommend to you. And frankly, if that doesn't get you what you need, I don't know what to tell you. There's nowhere to go from there. This is sonnet number 12, and it's a nice poem, I think. Actually, the first line is full woman, fleshly apple, hot moon. And Pablo had me at full woman, fleshly apple, hot moon, actually, but here we go, let's try it. Full woman, fleshly apple, hot moon, thick smell of seaweed, crushed mud and light. What obscure brilliance opens between your columns? What ancient night does a man touch with his senses? Loving is a journey with water and with stars, with smothered air and abrupt storms of flower. Loving is a clash of lightning bolts and two bodies defeated by a single drop of honey. Kiss by kiss, I move across your small infinity, your borders, your rivers, your tiny villages. And the genital fire, transformed into delight, runs through the narrow pathways of the blood until it plunges down like a dark carnation, until it is and is no more than a flash in the night. Pablo Neruda, thank you. This is a book called Exit Pursued by a Bear, which is a great Shakespeare stage direction from A Winter's Tale. All the sections from this book start with quotes from Orson Welles movies, and the first quote in the book is from The Lady from Shanghai. I don't know if you know the movie or not. It's a great trashy movie that kind of fell out of Welles' back pocket. He'd already broken up with oh crap, what's her name? Rita Hayworth. She's in the movie anyway, and he has a really bad Irish brogue through the whole thing, and this is a little taste of it, but it's very romantic. This is some of the voiceover from the beginning of the movie. That's how I found her. And from the moment on, I did not use my head very much except to be thinking of her. But in the park in those days, the tough, rough young fellas used to be staging hold-ups and the like. However, these young fellas were not professionals. And that may be the reason I start out in this story a little bit like a hero, which I most certainly am not. I'm going to read two poems from this book, and then we'll call it a night. This is I got to read one marriage poem. I drove down from Nashville today, and I live out in the woods in what's left of our little postage stamp out there of woods. And I noticed that the bug guy, I live in a log house, so it's high maintenance. I noticed the bug guy was coming around a lot more than seemed absolutely necessary to me, and spending a lot of time with my wife. And I was meantime back in my room, well, frankly, reading magazines and saying I was writing poems. So I wrote this poem called Terminex. I guess with a nod to Kafka, as you'll see. I shuffle along the wall of my nest and sniff at the door. Muted conversation out there in the big outside, maybe laughter. The bug man has the hots for my wife, and she a cold eye for me. Neither would cry if I were found on my wings, abdomen still, thorax shut, every leg stiff in the air. I dash for the kitchen. There are Bugsy and wifey drinking coffee. I hear him declaim his longing for the Bordeaux region. He sees me and his thin mustache twitches at something repellent. How blinding the room. The woman frowns, disgusted. I've learned to keep my palpus shut. Scurry back to a world quiet and small. But when the fist on the door comes, what can any creature do? Fate erect on two legs, cropped hair, white shirt, silver keg of poison. I wave an antenna and tell him to help himself. I'm spineless, but hard to kill. Ah, you're very sweet, very kind, very generous. That's one of her favorites. And then I'll end with a poem that I never read ever, and that on consecutive readings was requested. So now, I don't know, and I guess it's my classic love poem. I live in the country, and the excitement, if you want to get out of Lascassas, Tennessee, is to drive back to Murfreesboro and go to the co-op and check out what's happening. So this is the poem that came out of that. It's called Co-op Girl. This one, too, is from the heart, and thank you very much for coming out tonight. God bless InKY. At every plausible opportunity, be it for dog treats, latest literature on biogenetics or pesticides, or to admire the sticks of this year's fruit graftings, I harness up my Buick and steer across town to the Farmers Cooperative. I admire the no-nonsense, honest, corn-fed, all-American way the girl there tosses around the 50-pound sacks of feed like discarded hankies. The easy way she wears her cotton work shirts and snug denim. How she advises me on just the right ratio of rye to fescue, annual to perennial, then insists on scooping it herself from the bins to my open sacks growing fat on the big scale. I am sure she would make the man of me I always thought I might become. Abide no tomfoolery. Cool and casual, I toss a pig ear on the counter, steal a glance at her rear when she turns to ring me up. I lie and tell her I love her new haircut, employing already methods I've learned to nurture a sustainable harvest. As she smiles, sadly it seems to me, and says they've been busy, I can almost smell the wood smoke puffing from the pipe of our little cabin. Feel the two of us going hot and heavy in all three rooms, on every piece of sturdy hand-hewn furniture, as outside the west window undulates a row upon row of our weedless garden. Carrots, radishes, pole beans, tomatoes for both slicing and canning, even corn stalks sagging, even cantaloupes groping. And just discernible at the edge of ripe sunset, her wheelbarrow on its knees before a few experimental aisles of totally organic asparagus, all mine.